Okay, so we've been talking a lot about the developmental program lately and an alternative path to a lot of kids instead of doing the normal school route,
Yeah.
that there's something else they could do that you've had a lot of success with that. And we spoke about Pico, Elena, Helen, and other people that
I
this has
mean,
been something that, and
I mean,
a meet, of course, right?
yeah.
And talk about how you got started in that path. This alternative route with teaching kids this developmental program.
Yeah, it started when I started working one on one with Pico. Before I had a club, and it was a good club, but I could not, as a coach, I always wanted to raise Olympic champion, and I did not see that in this club. I could do that because it was like a season, kids would come wrestle, then they go baseball season, football season, lacrosse season. So it was a nice, but I did not see anybody who would, you know, to commit. And then I met Pico family, his dad, and so we went for the tournament to Ukraine, pancration tournament back then. And then his dad was asking me to coach him more and more and more. And then I saw Aaron potentials and how committed he was and his family. And so I started to coach him thinking about Olympic Games, like since he was a kid. And obviously, I wanted to do a little bit different because, those clubs around the area I lived in, California, it was not people committed to those Olympics. They were committed
High
winning,
school.
qualify for state,
Right.
win masters, winning state. And back then I said, you don't need me to win state. Your grandma can coach you. You're gonna win state because he was tough.
Yeah.
But I said, if you want to win Olympics, that's the way to do. We gotta train every day, maybe twice a day. We gotta travel. We gotta go to the best places in the world to train. And so back then I could go only Ukraine because I'm from Ukraine, and I had a connection everywhere, but we did not have the sources for that. And later I met Andy Bars, and so we had a long conversation about how I want to develop Aaron and kids like Aaron. And we had like a long, long conversation. Andy looked at me and said, Valentin, you sounds crazy, but I wonder how it's going to work because it looks like very interesting what you're saying. And it was 2013, and he said, well, I give you all sources you need. I want to see how it works. And that's how I started working with Aaron, traveling with Aaron, like places like Ossetia, Dagestan, Belarus, Bulgaria, uh, France, and so on.
All
To do,
over.
yeah,
How old was Aaron at the time?
that was 2013. So I think he was like a 7 or 8 grader, and then he went to high school. Yeah, and then 2013 he won Cadet World. He was already in high school that year, and then he decided do not go like take a homeschool, and so he would be able to travel with me.
Because he was at where St. John Bosco,
Yes,
and he was
yes.
doing pretty well there, but he
He
wanted something
he
more.
was
He
doing
wanted
pretty
something different.
well, yeah, and we had a kind of discussion that I did not tell him he should not wrestle for college, but it was a
He
conflict with the time, like coaches want him to wrestle one particular weight class for some dual meets, and we had a problem because we decided next year go weight class up for junior world, and it's like you're talking about junior world, you're talking about make an Olympic team in years, and then you're talking about cut 15 pounds for some dual meet with some local school. And so it was a conflict, and Aaron's like, Coach, I decide I'm going homeschool. I'm not going to wrestle this style. I want to wrestle only concentrate on folk style. No, I mean freestyle, sorry. That's how it's pretty much started with support of Andy Bars because Andy said, I want to see how it works. You do what you need to do. I'll let you freedom. Show me. So that's how it started.
So, and it sounds like everyone has different goals. Some kids just want to qualify for the states, some want to place
Yeah,
in the states, some want to win the states.
yeah,
But then we have some people that want to be in the Olympics and world championships.
yeah.
And obviously, that's a different path. So, you might need to
Absolutely
do different
different.
things. So,
Yeah.
it was his choice. Like you said, you didn't make him quit school.
No,
He
no.
wanted to do a
Yeah.
homeschool route.
Obviously, as a coach, I want him to, you know, that was my dream as well to raise Olympic champion. And it was hard for me also to understand how you can do it. I mean, obviously, we have a great stories in our country how people doing it, but again, I was against cutting weight in a
Right.
young age. I was like, you cutting weight for those dual meets, how are you gonna protect your body when you will be ready to wrestle Olympics?
Right.
You know, it's too early to, but it's another story. Cutting
Yeah.
weight and so on and so many things would not, you know, it would not be perfect to raise
Right. Olympic.
perfect Olympic level wrestler.
Right.
So many things.
He was a guy who was looking to optimize his chances of being an Olympic champion.
Yes,
So
yes,
this is not a path for everyone, but this
yeah,
is something that you've seen a lot of success with, not only with Aaron, we've done a similar thing with, again, we said Amit, Elena, Helen Maroulis, and others. Talk
yeah,
about,
yeah.
yeah,
Traveling.
traveling.
And they like Helen and Yelena, they were already established athletes,
Yeah,
but they needed back then, you know, go higher on the level.
right.
So that was a little bit another story, but also development of higher level athletes to being highest level athletes.
So how did you develop them? Was it training them multiple times a day, traveling different places? What are some of the things you did with them?
Yeah, it was. You know, we've been traveling. We've been training pretty much twice a day. Back then, one in the morning outdoor at the beach,
That's right.
like you know,
Stay close to the mic. But yeah,
footwork
yeah,
and positioning and so on, so on. So we could do it outdoor, and second practice on the mat.
okay.
And obviously, we've been training, we're traveling and training with the best athletes in the world, literally best athletes in the world. Like when I'm talking best, I'm talking about Sativ, Sadulaev, Gatsalo, back then Ramonov, Chamizo, um, Farniev. So I took them to first trip with girls and Aaron was to Ossetia, and then we had a it was a first trip when Ossetian have a girls ever on
First
wrestling.
time they ever brought girls on a wrestling mat there.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, and Aaron
Yeah.
obviously, and next time, you know, their neighbors and their friends and the competitors, Dagestanian. It's
Right.
like, how come you're not coming to us? And I said, well, you're not allowed bring girls. So it was like kind of like
Big.
long negotiations. And then I
Yeah.
brought girls to Dagestan. And so they trained with people like Sadulaev and Kurban Aliyev back then and many more people. Before, I took only Aaron, but it was like way before I took Aaron. He was training with Sachiv when Sachiv was already retired, but he was very active. So I took him to Krasnoyarsk back then, trained with Sachiv. Then I took Aaron to Moscow, trained with Sargush. So he trained back then like best wrestlers in the world, literally with everybody who was the best.
Right.
And same with the girls, they had the best highest level wrestlers, men wrestlers, study their technique.
Right.
So that's was my kind of development program, and I wish I could do it, you know, for a group of kids, like high school kids, to develop those kids before they go into college, because, in my opinion, that's a very important age when you teaching skills.
What age? Like
You,
13,
I was
15,
saying like
12?
from 14 to 18 is the most important age when you teaching those skills. Later, when you acquire those skills, you develop, you know, mental part is huge, right? Mindset. You grow as a man or as a woman, so you become a leader. You become a responsible person.
Hmm.
But technique wise, it's the most important age, 14, 18. Obviously, you can develop it 19, 20. I'm not saying that, but 14, 18 is the best age to
Yeah.
teach kids technique.
Because I know now,
What?
especially in America, everyone's starting younger and younger.
Yeah.
Would a development program even make sense for kids younger than that? Like, I know, I'm sure a lot of dads would want to
Yeah,
start
I would not get
5 years old,
yeah.
like my 5 year old son. Okay, no, but a little young.
Yeah.
But by 8, 9 years old, some of these kids are
Yeah,
wrestling
first of all,
multiple.
it's hard to
Yeah.
train and having diapers. So get rid get rid of diapers first.
But what about once they get rid of the diapers and they're like 8 or 9 years old? Is that still way too young?
It's way too young.
Still too young.
Yeah, but look, with the sport getting younger, and same time you have young champions. You have champions who are about 30 years old.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, but I think, my opinion, if you start too early, too young on the highest level, it's too much pressure. You might not take
Right.
it that long. The only one person I know is Frankie Chamizo. His first medal was when he was 18. He was 55 kilo. Now he got bronze 79 kilo when he's 32 years old. So
Yeah.
later on, so that, but it's very unique. Chamizo is very unique, and uh, but most of the time, I think 14, 18 is a perfect age to develop kids. That's what I
Okay.
think.
And then I think about, well, how could they financially be able to do this? And not, and what if they live different places and they can't, and they couldn't train with you? Like, how do they even do this? Because it
Mm.
sounds great, but how would the United States do something like this? Just even hypothetically, what might be some ideas?
You just mentioned how people in United States can do that. I think only people in United States can do that. because
Okay.
because like been traveling in the world, it's a lot of great countries, but in United States, so many great people,
Hmm.
and who has the sources, great people. I mean, you can find, like, I think it was a God plan that I met Andy Bars, for example. When I told Andy my story, like I said, back then he started 2012 Titan Mercury. Now everybody knows Titan Mercury Wrestling Club, and it was running from Los Angeles. And I met him through my old friend John Azevedo. He just started work for Andy, and again, I told my story about Aaron Pico, how I struggle, and I believe Aaron very has a future. I never
Hmm.
seen kids like Aaron, and I need help. And I had no support. I had to train with Aaron like a full time, but I could not afford to be a coach back then. Training Aaron, because I had to do something to make a living.
Sure.
And again, good news. I have a master's degree as a coach from back then Soviet Union. So Andy hired me as a coach to Titan Mercury. So then I did not have to struggle where I'm gonna get money. It became my main job to develop Olympic champs. So that's how I started working with Aaron, and later Yelena Pereshkova joined me, and then later Vicky Anthony and Helen Maroulis would join me. So we had a kind of traveling group. Back then they would call Team Valentin.
Team Valentin.
Yeah. So that was a development group. But again, I dreamed about kids aged like Aaron back then, because girls were already established athletes.
Right.
They needed they wanted to have Olympic gold, and so yeah, they needed more. But talking about development program kids, that was Aaron, and I wanted to have more kids like Aaron.
Right.
And so my idea back then was kind of what I did with Aaron, but having traveling team. Let's say I have 8 kids like that, this age, who taking school online, and traveling team means I would have with me also professional teacher. I'm not sure what kind of, but the teacher responsibility would be doing homework with those kids, you know, checking how they do online education. So I'm not qualified for this, but
Yeah.
somebody who qualified. So they would have a good education online and train. So that was my plan.
Okay. So the ideal scenario you're saying in your mind would be is if you had a group of 8 people, like roughly a
Yeah,
group of eight
roughly
people,
8 people. Yeah,
homeschooled,
yeah,
and they're able to, and then you have a teacher that's also on board to make
yeah.
sure they're keeping up academically with where they need to
Absolutely.
be.
Yeah.
And now they have the freedom to train twice a day,
Yes.
and they have the freedom to travel all across the country,
Yes.
and they're not bogged down by a lot of the common things people struggle with like making weight, being at a lot of times practices that
Yeah.
frankly they're not getting that much out of. If they do have a vision world class,
Yeah.
they might have to make some different life choices.
Absolutely. And then again, it's not for everybody. I realize it. Not everybody wants to go to homeschool. Not everybody wants to travel like that. Most of the kids and families wants to stay in the school.
Mm-hmm.
Make a team, qualify for state, winning nationals, go to best college. Wrestle for college, graduate from college. Great story. Like I'm
It's a
working
nice life.
for, yeah,
Yeah.
for Columbia University,
Yeah.
regional training center. It's great. But I know that out there, it's some kids, maybe 1% of those kids, who wants to do just international wrestling.
Yeah.
And at the same time, also have education,
Right.
not necessarily go on a scholarship.
Right.
Let's say like people who's doing judo, for example, right? They cannot wrestle collegiate. They do
Right.
judo. So same, some people wants to do Greco, some people wants to do freestyle. Not many. Like I said, we have already tradition in US on different way, but it's also the country of freedom. When if you want to have option, you kind of have to
You could
make it make it
right.
happen.
Right.
And that's why I'm saying USA. It's the answer. USA is the best country where uh, people talking about system. But let's say I grew up in Soviet. It's a system. You cannot break a system. You want to fight for the system. You go into jail. Here's the freedom. So
Yeah.
you build the system. It
Right.
might not be, like I said, 1%, but for the kids who wants to do that. Now, financially,
That's
I
what I was going to say.
yeah,
Financially.
I realize it's hard, but again, I know that in this country, the dreamers and dreamers who show they can do it, sooner or later they find the people who would support it. Like I find Andy Bars, and I think it's a lot of people like Andy who would love to support if they hear the story
Right.
or other stories. It's only wrestling stories. It's a lot of stories where people meeting people who support them and change their life. So if you're not doing anything, just dreaming about it is a one thing. But if you start doing something toward it, talking to people sharing your dreams, talking to right coaches, I think it could happen.
Yeah, and a reallocation of the monetary resources that they're already spending. I mean, if they calculate it on their wrestling club as well
Yeah.
as school, a lot of times these private schools, it's a lot of money. So it's if you were
Mhm.
allocating it a different way and you had that group of people, you might be able to get discounted rates, things like that. Now with Aaron and Helen and Elena and Meet, do they all have sponsors right away? Were people always paying for them to travel right away or not right away?
No, no. For instance, Amit, for example. Um, yeah, they've been travel. Um, I met them. They came to my practice. Amit mom and Amit came when she was really young girl.
How old? The 12,
Uh,
12 young
yeah,
or
something like
yeah.
that. Yeah, she came to see how's Yelena Peroshkova training with Helen. Helen just won world in Las Vegas 2015. We've been getting ready for Olympics.
Here's the mic. Go
Uh,
ahead. Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, they came and I talked to them and I see that mom took her all over the place, and like local place or travel. So financially, nobody would help them. And then after Olympics in 2016, I had more time, so I kind of decide I want to develop this girl. And I saw how families struggle with the sources, so I asked Andy Barth, and we had again few long conversations when I said that I deeply believe this girl will be big champ, and Andy started to support me with Amit as well. So Amit uh, had also best partners in the world, literally. She trained in Georgia. It was a Georgian national team. Because there is no woman in Georgia, no women wrestling. So she would train with a Georgian national team,
Yeah.
right? And or I took her to my camps, which I similar have this year as well. And Andy would help with that too. Then we had some trips, development trips. So, and I would bring partners, men partners also. Her partner was Chamizo. Her partner was Kinshasa, yes, Kinshasa. After Kinshasa, he's a silver world medalist. Her partner was Olympic champion Kinshagashvili. So that I think it's very important to when she was younger. I mean, she's still very young, but that was the age I'm talking about, 14, 18 years old when she got all the skills.
Yeah, and it just seems like they're not going to get that. The best in the world aren't always right around the corner. You have to go to those people. And
Yeah,
school and the typical school, it kind of puts you into a certain box
yeah,
that you can't do.
yeah,
You just can't do
yeah.
those
We
kind of
had we
things.
had to go to those people, or we had the ability to bring those people to us as well.
Right.
And again, yeah, you need the flexibility to
You need
bring
the
it.
flexibility with the
Yeah,
schedule.
yeah,
Right. No, that's big. And then how would this, like, right now in America, we see these regional training centers,
yeah,
which are good, and there's always pros and cons of any
yeah, yeah,
system, right? There's always good and
yeah,
bad. Um, but it seems like what America is trying to do is have these regional training centers to develop Olympians. And okay, they're doing that a certain way. How would, if there would be like ideas that you would give them, what would be some suggestions that you would make to make the regional training centers program either better or development for that? What are some
yeah,
thoughts?
yeah. So, my opinion, RTC changed USA wrestling in a good way.
Right.
Lately, USA start to dominate internationally because we have RTCs. So a lot of college kids who graduate and capable to wrestle internationally now have a support. But at the same time, I feel like some part of money going to kind of bringing college kids to help colleges to be a better wrestlers during the college season, but not developing
Okay, so
not developing the
it's
kids who after college.
yeah.
So I I would what I would do if you want to qualify to be RTC program, you have to have development program. You have to have a budget for development program, kind of development program I'm talking about.
In other words, not just a place where people gather together to train,
Yeah,
but to actually cultivate these kids
yeah,
from that critical age of between 14 and 18.
yeah,
Because it sounds like now if the college kid wants to stay and try his hand at international
yeah,
wrestling on the freestyle circuit, they stick around, but by that time they're 22, 23,
yeah.
24 years old.
And
That's
they just
10 years
yeah,
after.
they just trying to figure out freestyle.
Right. And that's 10 years after the period that you
Y-
want to really get them,
Yeah,
that you feel that the best way to get them, that you've had the results, is this 13, 14 through 18.
yeah,
That's before the regional training
yeah,
starts. Okay.
yeah. But in the regional training
Yeah.
center system,
Yes.
and again, I'm not attorney. It
Right.
might be
Yeah.
something illegal for college to have this RTC and
Right.
having local kids.
Right.
They might have qualified and so on. So I'm not attorney. I'm just
No,
saying,
we're saying that
ideally,
if you could,
I'm
if you could make it,
yeah,
this is what you would do.
I'm a dreamer. I'm a
Yes.
dreamer. That's what I would do.
That's what they want to hear. So in your scenario, you would say they would have to, for a regional training center, in ideal world, would have that development
Yeah,
program of the eight
absolutely.
kids
Yeah,
between 13 through
yeah,
18.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. For 8 kids who would qualify for this program, obviously, like really qualify,
Like they're serious, they're going
like
to do
not
this.
only serious, like with a professional coach who would see them being future Olympians.
So like
No less than that.
a
Very, very
selection.
selection. And of course, if we have already those 8 kids, we should have like a also wrestling club for kids, who wants to wrestle because this would be unfair for other kids. But
Right.
pretty much every RTC does it.
What would it be? Now I'm curious.
Mhm.
How would the coach? So if you had an Olympic level, now you were trained to coach wrestling. So
Yeah.
how would certain coaches be able to identify would they go to local wrestling clubs, or would there be tryouts for this group of eight? How would you how does the
That
coach identify? I know we're just throwing ideas
yeah,
around, but
yeah,
what do you
yeah. I
think?
know.
I don't know.
I just for some reason I have a feeling,
Yeah,
like when I saw Pico, I said it's a big deal. When I saw Meat, I told mom she will be Olympic champion. And again,
but you got them. Go ahead.
yeah, I felt like I was right.
But yes, well, you were. But you got, and also you knew what you were talking about. You
Yeah,
knew
I
how
knew.
to get them
Yeah,
there.
I knew how to get there, and
But
I have a feeling. But yeah, it's a question, because every parent see their child Olympic
as
champion.
right,
I get this part. So yeah, I mean that's why I'm saying we have to have kind of qualifying coaches. It's another conversation about professionalism of coaches who develop kids, not necessarily college coaches.
yeah.
Coaches, professional coach, not volunteer coaches, professional coaches who knows how to develop kids. So those type of coaches.
Is there anything close that you've seen like that around here? We're not throwing anyone under. We're just saying, is there anything like
Yeah,
how would we find the coaches that would be qualified to do that? Is it just they have a degree in like they've wrestled for a
I
while, they've
yeah
coached
I
for a while?
yeah
I
this
don't know. We're
we don't have a system with a degree. I don't know, but we have a coaches. Like Jeff Buxton or Coach Monaco.
yeah,
You just had interviews
yeah,
as coaches.
sure,
I think we have coaches
we
who
do.
knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Enough coaches.
Right now, because I think with a meet when you got a meet, she just was learning how to wrestle. She didn't know how to wrestle at all, right? Is that true?
She was.
Did she wrestle?
I mean, in 12 years old, what do you know? I mean, yeah,
What?
you can win
Well,
Tulsa Nationals, all those
well, but
national.
like Pico was pretty good by the time you met him, but then you took him to the
That's what
next
I'm
level.
saying. Pretty good. What means pretty good? How
Right,
many Tulsa national champions
right,
become
Olympic, right,
international level champions?
right,
But
almost,
all Tulsa national champions, they're pretty good, all of them,
right, right,
right? So yeah, he was pretty good. He was a Tulsa national champion.
right,
How when you 12 or 10 years old? I think he was like 9 or 10. I don't remember.
yeah,
How oh, he's good. That's it. He's done deal. You gotta develop this kid. You gotta teach him how to wrestle.
right,
It's
of
it's,
course.
it's like you're going to school. You might be a genius, but
You have to learn,
you're 8 years old, and if you're genius, you stay in the jungle for the next 15 years. You probably would not know anything. Only
right,
jungle.
right, right. No,
Yeah.
it's true.
So yeah, you have to teach.
You got to
That's why
develop
I'm
them,
saying you can find those kids, maybe creating some not like a national tournaments for the say hello, we're looking for talent tournament.
yeah, right,
you know
right,
and brings those kids who would be potentially interested to do that, to tell if you winning this tournament you qualify for type of this program, and if your parents agree, and so on, so on, so on.
right,
Maybe again, i
yeah,
don't
yeah,
i don't know. We got to think
yeah,
about it. Right now I'm
right.
just dreaming to have
But
something like that.
but the idea is for these regional training centers to be true developmental programs from that critical age between 13 and 18 for kids who are looking to take an alternative path, that are looking to travel, train multiple days a week, rather than just be a place for once you're done with college and now
Yeah,
you want to learn freestyle wrestling or try your hand at the
yeah,
Olympic trials. A true developmental system.
yeah. I actually heard in Europe, like a hockey players or soccer clubs, they have this type of development program for very gifted kids. I
Okay.
heard about it, but about soccer, it's different money. I understand that, but again, we live in America where we can find
People.
people who would support it.
Right. Right. And that's why you're
So
saying this is the place to do it. We
that
say,
is,
how can we do it? And you
yeah,
say, this is the
I,
only
I,
place to.
I think only America can do that.
Yes.
By the way, maybe not only America. When I was with Pico in Bulgaria, it's like 2014, I believe. I met Japanese team. It's like around 8 people. They came to tournament. It was so some wrestle Greco, some wrestle girls wrestling, and some freestyle. And so it was a coach, and other guys started talking to me like Russian, no accent,
And he was Japanese.
and he's Japanese. And I was like, "Are you Russian?" He's like, "No, I'm Japanese." How you know? And he's, "I'm translator. I'm traveling with a team." And so he spoke Bulgarian as well. I'm traveling with a team, so that's what we do. And then a few years later, I saw those faces. I did not even pay attention on names. I saw those faces in Olympics and
Yeah.
Greco.
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
so Japanese do that.
Right.
I don't know officially. I don't
Right.
have the sources to know, but that's what I saw
So
myself.
other people around the world are doing things like this.
I think so.
Okay.
I think Japanese. Again, I don't know. But only America, again, because sources can create whatever they
You
want to
could think of.
create.
Right. Right.
I think with the flexibility.
Right. So it would sound like we would need more people in America to believe that this type of thing would work, the actual development of these kids on an alternative path between a critical age of 13 to 18, that they're going to start training multiple times a day. They're going to travel overseas,
Yeah.
and that there would be donors or some kind of financial backers
Yes.
that would support these
Yes.
people
Yes.
as well as support the
Yeah.
coaches, because we're going to need some of our best coaches and our best wrestlers.
Yes.
I guess a big fear would be, are we going to take some of the best wrestlers out of high school and out of the colleges?
That's again.
That's their choice. I mean,
it's
it's the
their
wrestler's
choice. It's
choice.
their choice because now look, time is changing. After COVID, how many kids you see not coming back to school? Just stay home.
More.
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 Yeah. So it's their choice,
Right.
and they're looking something alternative. That could be an answer.
Right.
Uh, that's how I see it. And now the trend of sport of wrestling. I remember a time when we did not have a cadet world championship. Now you can see 13, 15 years old world champion, like a what it calls schoolboys, right?
Yeah.
Schoolboys world championship. It's what, like 2, 3 years old event.
Yeah.
So it's getting younger.
Right.
So his answer, how are you gonna make this world team? I mean, we have tough kids who is winning world. It's like no
Right.
question. We have it.
Right.
But maybe, those kids wanna stay in wrestling. I mean in freestyle wrestling.
Yeah. So because I think this would definitely be a way to build international success for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
this almost seems like this would be the
Like
no.
I said, I wanna say we build I think we already built it,
Yeah.
but it's another way
Another way to do it.
do it, and yeah, I mean, being more successful.
Right. Right.
You know.
Would there be any way that then, okay, now they did the 14 through 18, they did the developmental program, would you recommend they still wrestle? Like, I mean, it's totally their choice, but would you have them wrestle in college or still no college? Would they still continue that development? That's up to them.
I think up to them. It's definitely up to them.
Because I would think that if these regional training centers were going to support these wrestlers, they would probably want to know exactly, like, okay, they don't start paying for these people for 3 years, then they leave.
Yeah.
Right, like we said with the NIL deal. Talk about that.
Yeah, this type of deal, if you have very successful young man who winning everything internationally, and some school with a good budget offer really good deal for that kid to go to the school.
So if there's a kid in there's already a kid in the developmental program.
Yeah.
You're training him, or some other coach is training them for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Now NIL wants to pay him.
Offer him some big money.
Right.
So again, it's kind of, I'm not an attorney.
We're throwing in ideas.
Say, well, you have to pay RTC chunk of money for developing this kid. So yeah, so this money would go to the other kids to develop another kids.
Right, because it sounds like there would have to be some kind of financial backer, some kind of investor that is cultivating the kid. And now if someone just wanted to pay the kid money, well, what about that person who all the resources? They traveled overseas.
To develop this kid. It's not fair.
They should pay the pay the regional training center.
Yeah, we're talking now professional sport.
Yeah, right. But we're seeing that trend more and more.
Yeah.
Now college kids are getting paid salaries basically. I'm sure eventually high school will too.
Absolutely.
So, right?
I don't know. I would love to have some, because if I raise somebody and somebody making money and I'm not making anything, I feel it's unfair.
Well, there's a lot of things like that where they're making the money, they're getting the visibility.
Yeah.
They're showing now everyone makes technique videos, and if you're cultivating a person, and we see this with coaches all over the place, well, that coach should get some kind of credit also.
I think so.
I think it's fair.
I think so too.
Right. Right. So what might be some immediate steps that could be taken by the country to start this? Like, where would the does it start with the
Again,
donors? Does it start with the regional training center? Who needs to have these kind of conversations?
I mean, whatever we say is gonna
Yeah,
it's gonna go to donors.
yeah, dollars, right?
but but again, to me, RTC, I would start from RTC request having development program to qualify for RTC, something like that. But again, I unfortunately I don't have this experience. I would
Right,
talk to the people who have more experience,
right,
throw those ideas, and they would put probably in different forms this
yeah.
idea. But that's how I would see it ideally at this point.
Would each coach do it their own way? Like, if there's a regional training center here, there's one in Iowa, there's one in Oklahoma, there's one at Penn State or whatever. Each coach would have the freedom to do what they wish at those. It wouldn't be the same system for everyone, or
Uh,
or what would be similar, what might be different.
I think I think that would be like RTCs. It's kind of different. It's kind of similar.
Hmm.
Same. We RTC probably they under umbrella of USA Wrestling, right? So some stuff you have to do
Right.
what you're supposed to do. Same probably would be with development programs,
All right.
and international traveling or compete because, like I said, it's already world championship for 15 years, 13, 15 years old kids. So it's got to go through USA Wrestling, but it's a lot of tournaments now, international tournaments like that. It's probably because tournaments, it's probably international camps going on right now too,
Right.
internationally.
Okay.
So it should be organized, but in the same time, I would not put pressure. That's what,
Right.
with a program, I would say this way.
Right. I would think that there might be some kind of, like, what USA Wrestling might want to do is make, well, these are some recommended guidelines
Yeah,
based on what you've done. You've seen what works, what doesn't work,
yeah,
and not just you, but other coaches. And you'd want to say, okay, well, these are the things that have had success. We recommend you might do X number of days at working out, or how
yeah,
much
yeah,
training, how much competing, how much where you would go. Like, that might be some. They might have some best practices.
yeah, could be.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, Also, as we're
yeah,
talking, I already start
yeah. It
thinking,
starts thinking.
since you're dealing with a 13, 15 years old kids, it's also got to be a rules about weight cut
I
because
was
it's
going
a
to say.
young bodies, traveling, how many hours you can train, so it's got to be work together with, maybe physiologists, doctors, because we're talking about growing body. And obviously, coaches probably want to see immediate success, winning some worlds, and like, hey, let's cut 15 pounds. And you cannot do it for a 13, 14 years old kid.
A lot of
So
kids do it.
a lot of kids do it, absolutely. And again, because it's development centers, it's already money involved, travel involved. It's probably going to be like, oh, let's do this, let's do this.
Because they
So
want to win.
that's what that should be regulated if we develop many development programs. That should be regulated, yeah. But it's already, we're talking about future. We're
Yeah.
talking future, not now.
Right. Right.
Yeah, but I would.
What would you say, like, if you were going to stipulate the regulations for those kids in that development program? How much weight should they even be allowed to cut? Does it go based on body fat? Does it go based on what they weigh normally? I know
Uh,
there's might not be
yeah,
an exact answer
I'm against it, like cutting weight at all,
at all.
uh, especially when you're 13 years old, 14 years old. Just physio. If you understand physiology, you know, from 13 to 15, you might gain 50 pounds. Could be just jump.
Right.
Imagine what's going on with your body, with your heart, with your liver, with your kidney, with your hormones. And when you start doing like heavy diet, and kid not getting those sources, what's gonna happen? you know uh, we're not experienced when we see our wrestlers. We don't know what's gonna. We're like, okay, he got weight for next 10 years, he's good, looks healthy. But I'm 65, and in my life I lost too many friends by age from 50 and up who were cutting weight, who knows what's going to happen with those kids? Not in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years.
You think it was related to them cutting weight when they were younger?
Absolutely.
Yes. Even when they die,
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Overtraining, cutting weight.
Oh,
That's
oh,
that's what's gonna happen. I don't know. It could be something related to kidneys, something related to liver, something related to heart. Absolutely.
and I mean, and also the way, like the traditional route in America, there's a lot of competitions, 2 or 3 competitions a week. So you're making weight and you're wearing your body down.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe if you had competitions more spaced out, like overseas, is that what you're talking about too, or no?
Yeah. I don't want to change the system.
No,
It's
we're
the
not.
same
We're saying an
system.
alternative.
Yeah.
We're saying
Yeah.
in a developmental
Yeah. In
program,
development, no, it should be
you would
like.
say
Yeah.
less competition.
I think you should treat kid like it's your kid, as a coach.
But a lot of parents and coaches would say, try wrestle all
Well,
the time.
when
Wrestle.
coaches have their opinion, they should be educated first. Then they have opinion.
Well, they might think, well, they wrestled in college. They have a college degree. That's not the same thing as what.
Then you have to have a parent instinct to protect your kid.
Right.
I think. I
Well,
don't know.
well, because a lot of people
Like
look at
my
yeah,
son wrestled for Cal Poly,
yeah.
and he was a California state champ. We've been always fighting. I did not let him cut weight, but he would cut weight, saying, "You don't understand. You don't understand. You're an immigrant. You don't understand this culture."
Yeah.
Now he's saying, "Dad, you were right." Now he's older,
Yeah.
but his best years when he did not cut weight. That's what he told me. Best years he did not cut weight.
Well, and I think that's kind of going along with the whole theme of this: doing things, being willing to do things, stepping outside of the normal bounds. Like a lot of people are going to. Maybe there are some better ways, more effective ways to get results faster. I mean, if you're competing all the time, if you're cutting weight all the time, are you really thinking about finishing your front headlock, defending single on this leg, defending single on that? You're
The
probably not. You're thinking about winning the next match. Mindset.
mindset, yeah, mindset. To me, also, it's long conversation about everything, but to me as a coach is very important. Number one, raise a citizen,
Yeah.
not wrestler, Olympic champ, citizen. And when this great citizen would become Olympic champ, then next generation of the kids would follow this person. That's the main what I see as a coach, role of coach, racing citizen Olympic champ. That's still my dream. Still my dream.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah. No.
that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And again, it's so when you're doing shortcuts in your life, teaching kids how to win. I don't want to say it, but maybe cutting weights is another shortcut too.
Well, because it's short-term success for
Yeah,
this one tournament. You might do better if you wrestle five
yeah,
or 10 pounds later for this tournament.
yeah,
But then a tournament comes up 2 months.
yeah. Because let's say we're talking now, and some parents and kids saying, "I'm not gonna cut weight," but then some kids gonna cut weight, and if they're doing it
Right.
right, they might have advantage
Right.
at this point,
Right.
and hurting the kids who decide not cut weight. So it's very complicated. But again, to me as a coach, most important after all, if you're Olympic champion but you're not a great citizen, I don't
Right.
see any value.
Right. Right.
You
You're looking to build the total person. You're
Yeah,
not just looking at them as a wrestler.
yeah,
And,
absolutely not.
and it hurts when you see it every single practice. The kids have sweats on every practice.
Yeah, yeah,
That's wearing their body down, and you see they're not able to work as hard if they trained. I mean, I know I've seen pictures and videos when you were training Helen and Aaron, and you guys are on the beach throwing rocks. They're not with all sweats on. It looks like they're having a good time too.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, I mean, Helen had a different story. She wanted to win Olympics, beating Yoshida, so she had to cut a lot of weight. I
But she was
was
older.
Yeah,
She was a lot
she's
older.
older, and I still was against it, but she said I want to beat particular Yoshida, and then I said, of course, I'll support you. But I know that even, but then you make a choice. You win the
Right.
Olympic Games. Some people, including myself, when I was younger, I probably was like, I would die for Olympic gold. It's crazy. Don't
Yeah.
don't repeat it,
Right.
but that's already we're talking about Olympic Games, not about kids' body. So Helen made this choice. It might hurt your health as well. That's what I told her as a coach. I said it, and she was ready for this.
Yeah.
She wanted.
Yeah.
So that's a choice when
Right.
you're already adult,
Right.
right? So like you go into the war. That's a choice.
Right.
So
Right. And now, when you're training in that developmental program, how much different would it be, or would it be different at all than the way when you were training Amit and Elena and Helen and Pico for World Championship Olympic gold?
mhm.
Would the developmental program be any different? Would their style of training be any different in terms of how frequently they're training or competing? Or no, would basically be exactly what you would do for the senior level? Same thing?
Different
Different. How?
for each person is different.
Okay.
For each person is different. Like I was training Helen, Aaron, and Yelena
Yeah.
for Olympic trial in 2016, and you could call it crazy, but I trained them separate
Okay.
because everybody required different training back then. Because we came to a situation when you gotta be ready to win an Olympic gold. I mean, go through trial and win Olympic gold, and three of them were different. So again, as a coach, as a personal coach, I'm not, I was not USA team coach. As a
Right.
team coach, you have your responsibility to train a
Right.
team.
Right.
But as a personal coach, I did my best, train them separate.
Well, that's an interesting point there. When you have a developmental program, it's a little bit different because now you're able to give each one individual attention.
Yeah,
If the development was, people might say, well, why don't you make the developmental room 20 or 50 kids, and then the best rise to the top and the other ones drop off? But then you can't give that individual attention to the kids.
no, because we're all different, and we're
Right.
talking about high level. We're talking about Olympic Games,
Right.
right? We're sending person to space,
Right. Right.
so we're talking about very individual program,
Right.
right? We're all different. Somebody can stay long in the wrestling room. Somebody hate it, stay long in the wrestling room. So we're all different. And as a coach, those type of people, high level coach, it's a responsibility to know your student,
Right.
like your own kids, and
Right.
the responsibility to work individual.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And it's a hard job. I gotta tell you
It
this.
is.
It's a
It,
hard job.
it is. Well, that's why we need the right people to do it. We need the right people to back it. And then ultimately, we need a lot of buy in. Or at very least, even if the whole country didn't jump into this, if several places started to develop this developmental program, then they could kind of test the waters. Like, try it out,
Yeah,
see what you think.
yeah, yeah.
And then I think, a lot of people would have success. But
I think so.
and then maybe then the conversation goes into, well, what should they be doing? Because okay, you have the idea of what to do to develop them. A lot of coaches, I don't know if some of them might have an idea, but they're not used to thinking in terms of I could go anywhere in the world. We're used to
Yeah,
club owners and team coaches. We're used to coaching in one area and people come to me, right? Like
yeah.
the Shaolin Temple doesn't come to you. You got to go to the Shaolin Temple, right?
Right, right, right.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah. Or you can buy a flight ticket and fly.
That's right. 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 So they could actually go around. They just have to look at. And what we're really saying is that these are options. These are possibilities for
Yeah.
people that they might not be thinking outside of the box. But you've clearly had tremendous success with a lot of people like this. So it's worth people talking about. Kick the idea around.
Yeah,
Agree,
I think to
disagree.
find out the truth, you gotta talk a lot, you gotta try a lot.
Right.
Again, I don't know what I did right. Now I know.
Yeah.
When I did it, I did not know. I felt that's the way to do,
Yeah.
but who knows?
Right. Right.
So, but if you're not trying, how you know,
Right.
right?
Right.
Whole saying, when you're not doing any mistakes if you're not trying anything.
Right.
So probably I done a lot of mistakes because I tried a lot in my life.
Right. And so
Yeah,
it's like there's no risk, there's no reward.
absolutely not.
All right, good. So hey, we're putting the information out there. If you have ideas, questions, agree, disagree, we're happy to make more videos and to address how this
Yeah,
potential model could change. Yeah.
yeah. As for right now, again, as a coach, I gotta support myself more. So I do uh, my business. It's a wrestling camp, international wrestling camp, and at the same time, it is like a part of my development program. It's my vision of my development program. So whoever from the kids can send, can I mean parents can send their kid with me to Georgia right now. So we're gonna train with some high level athletes, cadet, junior, world
That's happening
champs.
this summer.
It's happening this summer, yes. But now everybody can go. You just have to pay money and go.
Right.
Right? It's not development program, but it's kind of like a model. So you can go and see how people would train internationally if they would go.
Right. So it sounds like they're getting a taste. They're getting an
Yeah, yeah,
experience
yeah,
of what it would be like to be in an alternative
yeah.
situation where
And
they're
and,
overseas or
and
on the
by
west.
by the way, Aaron Pico went through this program. He went with me back in 2013
Yeah.
to wrestling camp to Ukraine, and then or to 2012, I don't remember. And then he won Cadet World
Yeah.
after this camp. And same Amita Lord, she went with me to Georgia camp, like this camp now. So she went with me 2018, and then after that, not particular after that, but she became a successful wrestler. So
Right.
and a lot of good wrestlers. Evan Week actually in 2018 went with me to this camp as
Yeah.
well, and a lot of NCAA finalists went with me. Used to go with to Ukraine,
Yeah.
those camps.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah,
And I always think about when I hear you talk about these things, I think, man, if I had these kind of opportunities, would have I made it? I don't know, but it's an
yeah,
exciting thing. But these people have the opportunity. People who are watching this, they have the opportunity to possibly do things like this. So I think it's worth a shot. At least try going overseas, see what you get out of it, physically,
yeah,
mentally, technically, and just the
absolutely.
experience.
And it's obviously different environment.
Right.
Georgia, it's a 3.5 million people population, having so many world and Olympic champs on Greco and freestyle and judo.
Right.
You know,
Maybe they're doing something right.
maybe they're doing something right, and you would see, their culture, how they do it. They probably they don't have a homeschool,
Yeah.
but their life like a home. I mean,
Yeah.
they train in home. They coach for them. For most of them, it's like their father, and
Yeah.
they treat him all their life like a father.
The coach.
Yeah, yeah. After they're done with career, they saying hi on the street.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't hear
Yeah. Right. And
that.
it should be pretty obvious. Talk
Yeah,
about raising good citizens,
yeah,
right?
exactly,
This is
exactly.
basic.
Yeah, yeah.
This is
Like in Georgia, we're going to the city of Gori, and Gori, it's like 1 hour drive from capital of Georgia, Tbilisi, and mayor of the city, it's Vladimir Hinchigashvili, Olympic champion of 2016.
the mayor.
The mayor, he's a mayor of the city, and he's a hero of the city. He's a
Yeah.
hero of the country, and on his own money, he built monument of his coach, bronze monument of his coach.
Wow.
Yeah, in front of the wrestling club where we train.
Showing the respect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So
Well, but
so
that's also the benefit of having someone who actually develops you. You know, we were talking about that when we did the show with Buxton and Monaco
mm,
coaches. They were saying a lot of times when kids are bouncing around all over the place, they don't have stability. It's hard to teach continuity
yeah,
if they're going all over the
and it's
place.
hard to teach a citizen because you're already not loyal.
Right, right. No, absolutely. So it's everything. You're getting a lot of benefit from coming up in that kind of a developmental program. Well, that's great. Well, we'll have to keep talking about this. And again, if anyone has any questions or wants to bring anything up to our attention,
Absolutely.
anything else that you wanted to hit on? Was there any particular point, something that we didn't cover, or
Uh, you know,
elaborating on something?
I don't know. I have a lot of things to say, but you need to ask me questions.
Yeah.
So I'm open to any questions. We can discuss anytime because right now I don't remember what I want to tell.
Yes, I
Get
got you.
getting older.
Okay,
Ask
okay.
me questions.
So, any questions?
Like
Ask Coach VK.
yeah, on Instagram that's what I do.
Coach VK.
Ask Coach VK. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm open to answer.
All right, and then we'll do more of these if you'd like. Thanks for
Absolutely.
watching.
Thank you.